What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to version 1. You joined me out here today and it is absolutely blowing a gale. But after a long time, we're out here with the Megane. It's just been 4 years of ownership on this car. I can't believe it. But it's probably about time that I owe you guys a review on what it's been like to modify, to look after, and just general running of this car over the last 4 years. So before we go out there and get driving, let's talk about visuals. One of the reasons I did initially have my eye on this car. Now, you're going to say I'm biased because I've got one, but I genuinely think this is one of the better modern hot hatches looks-wise on the market. I thought that before I had one as well, and especially when you put it up to your Golf Rs and your whatever else, and these are super uncommon. That does come back to bite you in the arse occasionally because the aftermarket support and everything like that, which we'll get into later, is rubbish. But as far as this car goes, this is one of the rarer, well, less common cars I've had. And that shows when it goes down the road and so many people look at it. And it's proper weird for me because I've had a lot of French cars, but for some reason they love this one. I don't know whether it's the aggressive styling of a sort of modern car because things are generally softening off. But with the wide arches, the aggressive front end, a couple of mods that I've done to it and stuff, I think it's come together to be exactly what I imagined it to be before I even owned one. So for those of you guys that are new to the channel, I'll quickly just blast through the mods that I've got on the car as it currently sits visually. Maxton front lip, tinted front Renault diamond because the chrome was too much for me. Phase 2 RS front badge from Onyx 9 Creation. Ryan, shout out to Ryan. Pro tracks, they're a little bit overdone, but they are what they are. It's like BBS on a Porsche, you just can't go wrong. I got the AD09s because I needed an aggressive tyre to fit that arch where I dropped down to the 18 from the 19. Load of blacking out on stuff here, like blacked out the chrome from there, all of the chrome trims in the door. A little bit of a spacer on the wheel because it's an ET50 wheel, so I wanted it to sit a little bit more flush to the arch, so it's got a 10mm spacer squared. Had 1.5 degrees of camber dialed in on the back to just make that get that fitment a little bit closer, but also make things so there's no scrub at the back on the rear, especially with the rear wheel steer. Black badge on the back, wiper delete, Maxton rear lip for a little bit of a flick, obviously full exhaust and all that stuff, and a fully blacked out surround, the plastic surround and the metal inside that I did with a heat paint. Also tinted out the centers of these lights here because on the phase 1 they are very white, very chromy, to go with the whole theme of the car. Blacking out all the chrome and everything was what I wanted to do really early on. Oh yeah, and black door handles as well. Done that as well. So visually, I think that's about it. I've covered all the little mods for you guys that are new to the channel. Shout out to you guys. Just the way the car sits now, I'm super happy with it, but I've always been a fan of the way this car looked. Ever since, I think the first time I set my eyes on it when I played Dirt 2, it was on PC, when I saw the Mark IV for the first time, and that was like early renders and stuff of the rallycross car, and I was like, I need me a bit of that. Like we said, it's the natural progression from the Clio to go up to the Meg. So it's a bit of a hot topic on these cars, interior. Obviously there is some plastic elements to it to keep price down and stuff, which I understand. But overall, the interior was a huge step up from anything French that I've been in previously. Even people that have had Golf Rs and like, you know, Mercedes and BMWs and stuff that have generally really nice interior, when they got in here they said, blimey, this is nice. They were surprised by how nice it was, and a lot of those guys have owned previously French cars, so they know normally it's creaky, it's cracky, it makes a lot of noise, but like a lot of the stuff in here, soft touch plastics, half Alcantara wheel, big screen. I obviously suspect the big screen. It's got little carbon bits here and there. It's got the interior mood lighting, it's got everything like that. And they're obviously the Recaros, which everyone loves, and you've got to have the Recaros if you're going to spec something like this, in my opinion. I know they don't come heated, but when you're in a car like this, I just wanted to go all out basically. And the black headliner, Recaros, it all come together. Oh yeah, and it's EDC as well, which is you know. So in terms of comfort, as far as a sports seat goes, I find absolutely no problems at all. It's got good lower back support. Obviously, it's got side bolsters as well for when you're going around corners a little bit quick. The adjustability is good as well. You can go quite low on these as well. I've seen that be a complaint, especially in like the Yaris and stuff. The way that the seat sits is quite high. So I know that that's always been a focal point for driver position, you know, where the driver wants to sit in that perfect position, not too high, nice and low, good visibility. But yes, the interior overall, is a nice place to sit. Everything is lit like white light, it's not yellow light, so it doesn't feel cheap. Where they've skimped on price potentially isn't really that noticeable because it's places where you won't necessarily touch. So maybe out of the way, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But with the Bose has the sleek little speaker runner, and then you've got Bose up here as well in the front, and then there's a sub in the boot, which obviously gives that a little bit of shove. But then everything else as it comes together in here, everything being black or like a blush, or being like a brush black on this big screen here, then everything kind of just comes together. And that was, like I say, the first thing I noticed moving from the Clio was the rather large step up in interior quality. So let's talk about the hot topic with any French car, reliability and issues. As mentioned in the intro, I've had this car for over 4 years now, so I'll run through the problems that I've had specifically with this car, and then other ones that I know of that people have had done, that are the more common sort of things. Early on in the car's life, I had the car in for a recall for a fuel pump sensor. Now, I have seen people have their fuel pumps themselves replaced, so I don't know if this is a fix to stop that issue, but that is one of the big ones, is the fuel pump. I know people that have replaced with aftermarket ones that have gone through multiple manufacturer changes and had the OEM ones fitted, and they've gone again. So I'm not really sure what the fix would be in the long term. But this being the 2019, so it's the phase 1, had the recall on the system for a fuel pump sensor replacement. So I put the car in for that, and touch wood, the car has been fine ever since. So the other big one is the battery with these cars. With the trophies, the DESS has a lot of problems. I've seen a lot of people left stranded due to the battery. It nearly left me stranded. Luckily, I replaced the actual battery part of the system. Like, if you want to check that video out, I'll leave it up top for you there. But it was something that I was needing to do anyway, because people suffer with, if the car is not driven every day or on a trickle charger, then I think that's where the biggest problem is for those batteries. They need to be like ran every day for a little while. I drive the car every day for work and other little bits and bobs, obviously with the channel and stuff, so I've never had that issue. Now, it did get to a point where one time I went to start it and it ticked over a little bit too much before it actually kicked into life. So I didn't want to risk it and take that chance of it actually going on me on the road, out there on the road or somewhere serious. So I just replaced the internals just to replace the battery itself, and I will eventually move up to either the phase 2 model, apparently, because Renault said that it needs coding into the car, but apparently it doesn't. I know people that have done it and they haven't had it coded. Also, people have just gone for a direct AGM replacement. I haven't yet done it, but it is on my list of things to do. Now, problems for me that I've had with this car since owning it, the only thing I've had to replace with a fault or a problem by the recall and the battery itself was the rear shocks. The rear shocks on these get a little bit misty, tend to leak, and unfortunately I didn't get to replace them under warranty because of the lowering springs that I've got on there. Renault would have been fine and replaced that under warranty, but especially while the car was within the 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. I didn't really notice any difference. It was only a case of when it went into an MOT, I got an advisory for the slightly leaking shocks and then just had them replaced. Other than that, she's been good to me. I haven't got any complaints in that regard. The car starts up first time, every time I drive it anywhere, I enjoy it, I love it, and that's about it. So let's talk about the general cost of everything when it comes to this car. Now, you can probably pick one of these up for 22 to 24 grand, depending on the mileage and spec and stuff. It would just be a case of whether you want the pan roof or not. But when it comes to price for performance, is a different conversation, and it depends also on what you're looking for in your next car. When it comes to the Megane, everyone knows Renault haven't had the straight line speed, put it that way. They've not had the straight line speed to keep up with any of the German stuff, the Golf R's, your Golf GTIs even mapped up, and that is one of them things that you have to understand about when you jump into one of these cars. Is it slow? By no means, not at all. But is it fast? And it's like, what is your comparison to quick? Speed is all relative and comparative to what you've experienced previously. Now, when it comes to something like this is running 340 with various mods and this, that, and whatever else. But I've got the 100 to 200s down by over a second and stuff like that, and it will probably do mid 5.5 second 0 to 60. But when you're buying this sort of car, if you're watching this review, if you know about Renault, then you know it's more than how it gets off the line. It's not even about how it gets off the line, it's more about how the car drives and feels once you get moving. Today's video is sponsored by Carly. Carly gives you dealer level diagnostics, lets you check the health of your car, and depending on the model, unlock some hidden features for your car. All you have to do is plug Carly into your OBD2 port, connect it to the app on your phone, and you're away. So I'm currently sat in my pal's Touareg that's done approximately 19 million miles. So let's plug Carly in and see what it finds. Diagnostics complete. So just looking at the screen now, it says the health status is very bad. Air conditioning's got a couple of issues there, which he actually told me he already knew about because he has checked this before, because he actually does have a Carly. So I'm just going to clear the issues and have a little look at some hidden features we can potentially do with this car. So as you can see from the screen here, there are a couple of things we can mess around with. But let's have a look at the lighting. There's a whole array of things you can mess around with in this app, with daylight runners, interior lighting and stuff like that. But seeing as it's not my car, I'm not going to actually do anything. But just take my word for it, there's a lot of stuff here on this list. So if you're wanting to delve deeper into your car or play around with some hidden features you didn't know you had, click the link in the description of this video to find out more. If you wanted to check out more content with Carly, not so long ago we plugged the Megane in and done a full dedicated video. So I'll leave that for you guys at the top of the screen right now. Thanks Carly for sponsoring today's video. Make no mistake, you know where the car shines, and it's in the corners. The way these things handle and the way these things feel are super reassuring, just so confidence inspiring that I've said in all of my previous videos about Renaultsport, these things know how to take a corner. Surprises me. That's not even, I wouldn't even say 50% of what this car's capable of, but the way it moves around through a corner is exceptional. So confident, didn't once make me feel uneasy. The rear wheel steer does take a while to get used to, so bear that in mind. Now I come from the Mark IV Trophy Clio, which was no slouch by no means, but as cars get heavier, they just have a different way of delivering things. Now I personally think that the Mark III Megane has a bit more grunt to it, feels faster, whether it is or not. I've been told by some people it is, I've been told by some people it isn't. Now, I trust the guys that have had both and they've driven both and stuff, but where this car is auto, EDC, the way that it delivers the power and the way that it does things is just completely different. When you're throwing gears, there's sort of that kick back to the seat every time you're changing gear, every time you're getting back on the throttle. But where these cars have come so far now, like I said, they're a bit heavier, they've got loads more stuff in them. The way that they deliver power and the way that they give you those feelings, it just feels completely different. I've driven cars with 200 horsepower that feel absolutely rapid because they don't weigh anything. But when it comes to something like this, you know, 340 horsepower I couldn't dream of when I was driving little hot hatches. I remember when the Focus RS Mark II come out, 300 horsepower at the front wheels, people lost their mind. They were like, not possible, it's pointless. But we've come so far with technology in cars and stuff like that. Now, this is running 340, no problems. Puts it down, no problems. It'll light up first, obviously, but second gear, it starts finding grip, and third, you're off. Just like that. While we're on the topic of performance, let's talk about the gearbox. Now, when it comes to stuff like this, there's a little bit of trust issues against when it comes to anything that isn't basically a PDK or a DSG. So when it comes to this car, I've had people drive after driving DSG and they are surprised at how good the box is. It gives you the gear you want when you want it. It's got that cool thing where you hold down the left paddle and it will give you the right gear as well for the situation that you're in, which has come in handy a couple of times. And also, it's just smooth, like, which is all you can ask for really from an auto box, is that it's there when you want it to be, gives you the gear you want when you want it, but it's also responsive in the regard of if you're into like a neutral or comfort mode, then it will go up into sixth and then bring the fuel economy up and all stuff like that. So it knows what to do. And what I think I love about this box over the Clio is, although they are the same box apparently, but the Clio is dry clutch and this is wet clutch, so the difference in smoothness is there. But overall, the most obvious thing I noticed straight away was that I can actually drive this in sport mode casually. the Clio would always hold gears super long and it wouldn't shift up till really high in the RPM. But I am in sport mode now and I'm doing 31 miles an hour and in auto, and it's sat in 4th gear. So it's much more responsive to the input that you do use on your right foot, as opposed to what mode you're in, primarily using those parameters alone. Unfortunately, with this car being uncommon, something you don't see all the time, the aftermarket support is terrible. There's very few companies that do anything for this car. You'll end up having to find, you know, really root around the internet to try and find anything of any interest for these sorts of cars. And that leads to, I guess, people going the other way, going to something that you could get much more for, especially if you're looking, obviously this is for you guys that are looking to modify your car. Buy a couple of front splitters and bits and bobs like that, and there's only a couple of companies doing exhausts and stuff, so it gets to that point where it's like, does the fact that it's uncommon outweigh the fact that you can't get any aftermarket support? RS closing their doors hasn't helped at all either, because that means then that there's even harder to get parts for these cars. It's one of those things, especially if you guys aren't looking to modify your Megane, then this won't be an issue for you. But for you guys that do like to tinker, even if it's just little OEM plus bits like I've done, I haven't gone to any extreme by no means. You know, this is just run, I'm not on coilovers, I'm not on a hybrid turbo or anything. They're about the only things I haven't done for this platform. But you just don't see people pushing these things that far. Because of what they're built for going fast around corners, people kind of give up at a certain power, which I don't blame, because you end up with putting loads of money into a car that is just as fast as a mapped, you know, BMW. So it depends on what you're looking for your car, and I am a strong believer as well is that you can push a platform too far. I think if money was no object and I had the opportunity to go hybrid turbo, I would, but that would probably be as far as I go. I think 400 horsepower in one of these would be so quick, so quick. But I think that'd be the limit before you start overpowering the front wheels, and then you start losing the balance, which is probably the most important thing about a Renault Sport, is the balance. Renault have always found the way to make a car that's maybe not specifically the fastest on the straight when you put it up against its contenders, but it makes up for it everywhere else. So it's the perfect all-rounder, especially when you put it onto a track or around corners. The leveler, it's the ultimate leveler for a Renault Sport. As soon as you get onto any sort of twisty, any sort of back road, any sort of track. With this being the last Renault Sport model, I do feel like I'm driving something special. Now I know that obviously there'll be people laughing in the comments being like, oh, it's just a Renault Megane and blah blah blah, and you know, to some degree you're kind of right, but when it's the last Renault Sport model ever made, and you've got the likes of Renault Sport making 17 different variations of an SUV crossover, everything becoming more bland, everything looking more the same, you know, having something like this is so special to me that I'm still in something that is special to drive, special to own, special to look at, when everything these days is just becoming so mundane and so just blends in. It just, no one cares. So being able to drive something around like this that still has that appeal that the old cars had, you know, when I pull up to a meet or like something in this, then people know what they're looking for. They see it and they're just like, and the first thing they do is look if it's a trophy, you know, by the blade on the front and stuff like that. It's just such a lovely car. It's just been such a lovely experience to own this car. I love driving it every time. It was one of the first cars I got that all my mates were kind of, they really liked it too. Not that it matters, but it was nice to see, like, everyone was like, mate, this is a really nice car. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that first realisation of, you're like, bloody hell, maybe this is a good car. Seeing the groups and stuff expand, and there become more and more of you guys that have these cars, is only a good thing, because hopefully some companies will catch on as they get a bit older and start doing more aftermarket bits for them. But it's not something that I'm too worried about at this moment in time, because I've got the car exactly where I want it. Performance wise, looks wise, everything in that regard, I've got the car exactly where I want it. So unless I'm going for a hybrid turbo and someone fancies running that with me, let me know. I love the way it looks, I love the way it sounds. I prefer the sound of the Clio, but it was a little bit peppier, but I love everything about it now. I love the fact that I can make it loud when I want to, quiet when I want to. It's got the performance there, it's got the comfort there, it's got it all. So guys, I'm going to end the video there. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave it a like rating, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and ring the bell notification button to go back for any future content. If there's any questions on the car or plans of what you've got on maybe getting on or modifying yours, then get at me in the comments or on Instagram, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can and try and hopefully help you out. But my summary on the car overall, it's been 4 years, just over 4 years now. I can't believe it's been 4 years. It feels nowhere near that long, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been a huge step up for me personally, so I can understand that it's more special to me than it might be for some of you guys. It's the most expensive car I've ever had, so I'm super grateful for that, and I'm I've enjoyed every second of it. I love everything about it, in all honesty, and it's got to that point where I'm happy with it, and I kind of want to leave it there as well. I kind of don't want to take it any further. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.